This is a song that I made as a beginner 1 year ago. It's pretty bad, right? The part you just heard goes on for another 40 seconds, and the only thing that changes during that time period is the melody. Very slightly. As a listener, I am extremely bored. The way to fix this is to first cut this part in half. Then I would use automation to gradually increase the volume on some instruments. Temporary sound effects could also help. The worst thing your music can be is boring, which is why you have to make it your priority to avoid this. If your first 15 seconds sound the same as the next 15 seconds, you have a problem. The second mistake I noticed is that every instrument is playing in the same frequency range. Beginner me should have spread the sounds between bass and high end, but instead I put everything in the mid-range. Oh boy. This is an issue because now that everything is on top of each other, nothing really stands out. This is called frequency masking. The way to avoid this is to decide for every instrument where in the mix they will live. Yes, you should layer sounds on top of each other, but you want to keep it simple. Layered sounds should play the exact same thing. Otherwise, it will get messy. Also, get rid of the low end. A lot of instruments have unnecessary sound in the bass frequencies. Music doesn't have any rules, but most of the time, the only sounds present here are the bass and the kick. This means that if you have a bunch of instruments with low, rumbling sounds, your mix will very quickly turn into what music producers call muddy. Don't worry, the solution is very simple. You just take an EQ and cut out the low end on non-bass instruments. Easy. I think I have made fun of this part enough, so let's go to a different part of the song. This part is better, but it still has a massive issue that I haven't touched on. The drums are way too loud. If you look at this loudness meter, it goes red at the peaks. This means that the drums are going above 0 dB, which results in a drop of quality. The sound effects are also way too loud. Here's a visual representation of how loud this mix is. This is a limiter. When using a limiter, you set a threshold, which means that if the audio goes above that limit, the volume will be lowered. Right now the threshold is set to 0 dB, which means that the audio will never go above 0 dB. It reaches a peak of about 7 dB. Yikers! The solution for this is called gain staging. This means that you want to set a good level for the audio signal before the next processor. In my case, I would have to bring down the volume on basically every instrument. By the way, this limiter is the only plugin I used in the entire song, which is the last mistake. When making this song, I was using the demo version of FL Studio, which meant that I couldn't open the project after saving it, which is probably why I didn't use any plugins. However, the effects that would have had the biggest positive impact on this song would be EQ and compression. You already know why EQ is important, and compression would have been nice to reduce the dynamic range between the quiet parts and the loud parts. You could have the opposite problem in your songs, where you use too many plugins, which is at least better than using none. However, you should use every plugin with intention. It will sound bad if you just put random effects without thinking about what the result will be. Also, if you have an instrument that sounds bad, no amount of plugins will save it. Stop polishing a turd and just pick a better sound. Let me know which of these mistakes you have made and check out this video to see how to improve your mixes with free plugins.